Footy Fridays back again. And guess what else is back? The college football playoff is back. And we are down to just three teams remaining, including tonight's big Cotton Bowl Classic. I preview the entire matchup of what to watch out for on tonight's Give 'em 5 Media's showcase game. What else is going on? The NFL playoffs are right around the corner. They kick off tomorrow. What to watch out for with the seven biggest football games of the weekend. And the Premier League rolls on as well. Many teams have been getting lost in the Nottingham Forest and they keep getting chopped down by Chris Wood and company. We go over everything going on in the Prem, including the biggest surprise team of the season. All that and more coming up right here on another edition of Footy Fridays. Hello, everyone. Good to see you back again. Robbie Basil here. Um, it's weird that we're back at, well, one, that we're back again because first video of this channel, of this show in 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. Good to see everyone. Hope the holidays were good. I do not like the cold, and I've learned that in the last couple of days. I was on my trip for New Year's. That's why there was no video. That's why I didn't really help with the stream on New Year's Day. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed the continuing coverage of the college football playoff here on Give 'em 5 Media. Of course, you can watch tonight's game with myself and my boy Chase Creedy with Ohio State and Texas. That stream hopefully will kick off around 7:30 p.m. I'm not 100% sure, so make sure you check out the Give 'em 5 Instagram so you guys don't miss out when that stream will be officially launched up tonight. You can check out the link to the stream. It will be in the description. You can also check it out at the top of the live page here in the Give 'em 5 Media YouTube channel. So easily accessible, and I hope to see all of you guys, all the viewers on stream tonight. But before we talk about teams getting lost in the Nottingham Forest, Chelsea collapsing, coaches getting fired, and Penn State bottling it again. I made a statement on because recently, thanks to you guys, well, two big things happened. We reached over 30,000 views of the channel already. And on top of that, we've reached the first subscriber milestone, 100 subscribers. And we did that on New Year's, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, I couldn't make this statement in a post when I was on my trip because there was no service. So I have to do this now. And it's, what's this, 11, 10 days after New Year's? 10, yeah. 10 days after New Year's. So let me read my statement and we can get on with the show. So on behalf of the whole Give 'em 5 Media team, I'd like to thank everyone for helping us reach the 100 subscriber milestone recently. I wish I could have made this statement before my trip or right when I got back, but unfortunately, like a producer or broadcaster mid-game, we have to make an adjustment sometimes. When we launched the rebrand in November, we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. We were just nine dudes with nothing better to do and joined forces to make the brand for what it was at the time. But thanks to all the viewers and subscribers, we've collected over 30,000 views from all of our shows and our incredible content. And of course, some of your guys' favorite, the incredible live games and the live streams. And of course, we reached the first subscriber milestone, reaching triple digits almost 2 weeks ago. We were just getting started, and we couldn't thank all of you guys enough. And rest assured, more to come from us in 2025 and hopefully beyond. That was the statement from me. Hopefully, the other guys do stuff like that. I'm not really sure if they did or not. But real quick, let's go into our first topic of the day, the college football playoff. We have like three subtopics with the playoff today. So let's get right into it. So we know what happened in the first round. We talked about that before I left. So let's go to the quarterfinal round. And this is during New Year's. So hopefully everyone enjoyed New Year's and watched these games because some of them were absolute chaos. We began with a very weird one with Penn State and Boise. Now, I said on stream or on this video and on stream during my second playoff game of the weekend in the first round that this game should be a blowout. And it wasn't. Ashton Genty and company made this game really uncomfortable. It was like a 3-point game in the middle of the third. But then Penn State played Penn State football and won this game, so good for them. We also got a treat with Texas and Arizona State. What a weird game this was because Texas was running the table early on. It was 17 to 3 at the end of the first half. Unfortunately, the second half does exist And Cam Scadaboo and company made this really uncomfortable for Texas. But Texas, on one of the last plays of the first overtime, on like a fourth down and something ridiculous, Matthew Golden gets wide open, and Quinn Ewers finds Golden for a touchdown to tie our game up. And then Gunnar Heim, what a player he is. He gets a touchdown as well to make it 39-31. ASU gets stopped. Texas wins. Pure chaos. Texas almost bottled this, and I think a team later on did display on how to bottle a game. But Quinn Ewers, over 300 yards. He played a terrible second half. First half, he looked untouchable. The second half, I don't know. I don't know how you rate the second half from him. The Texas defense sucked. They allowed 21 second half points, and Texas only scored 3. What was it, 3? Oh, no, they scored 7. Well, I can't read. It was 24-7. That's what the point total was in the second half. And Texas made this game really uncomfortable for themselves. A team that should have honestly ran ASU out of the building. Cam Scadaboo wasn't feeling well for like half this game. And Texas made this really, like I said, really uncomfortable for themselves. The defense kind of collapsed in the second half, as did the offense. But Quinn Ewers still put on a show. Matthew Golden, over 145 yards receiving and a touchdown, helped lead the way for the Texas Longhorns. Wisner, not a good game from Wisner. You're hoping for something better from him tonight in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, which we'll talk about later. Cam Scadaboo proved why he was one of the better running backs in the nation. He had over 140 yards, but it's not good enough when your defense can't stop Quinn Ewers. So, Texas, good for them. They advance. They are going to be playing Ohio State tonight because Ohio State actually looked good again. You know, I really praised Oregon too much. And I really did. And that was the mistake I made a couple of weeks ago. As I praised the hell out of Oregon. And they really didn't deserve it. And this game proved why. But I'm going to give my whole thoughts on the playoff and why this format is terrible in a minute. But Ohio State faced off against an underprepared Oregon, and Ohio State made them pay, and they won by 20. This game should have been won by like 50. Emeka Ibuka, Jeremiah Smith put on shows. Will Howard put on a show as well. He threw for over 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. He made it look easy. Dylan Gabriel, they got stopped on fourth down like a million times. They could not run the ball. James was their leading rusher, and he had 14 yards. But they really couldn't run the ball when they're down by like 30 early in the game. Travion Henderson put on a show. Judkins was okay, but it was really just Travion Henderson. Jeremiah Smith had over 185 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns, leading the way for OSU. So, Ohio State, they dominated. Oregon are done. If you've taken the theme so far, 3 of the teams that had a bye are out already. And Notre Dame made it 4 for 4 after the unfortunate tragedy in New Orleans. Notre Dame were able to find their footing and beat Georgia. Now, granted, Georgia looked okay, but they were without Carson Beck. And I'll give him his flowers a little bit. Gunnar Stockton looked okay. I watched a lot of this game. While I was on the cruise, Gunnar Stockton looked okay. Wasn't anything spectacular, but he looked fine. The run game let him completely down. And that one player who wasn't dressed ruined the game for Georgia. Because, remember, one of the players inadvertently tripped the referee, which negated a very long game. I think it was almost a touchdown. That led to a field goal for Georgia. If they score that touchdown, this game is completely different. So you can pick moments from this game where Georgia shot themselves in the foot inadvertently, but they could not stop Riley Leonard at the end of the game. Riley Leonard, who by no means has done anything crazy. Riley Leonard has done absolutely nothing up until the game yesterday. And it's a lot of praise for getting 170 total yards in a game, passing and rushing combined. But this is where I thought Marcus Freeman was going to struggle. These big moments where I thought Notre Dame were not ready for the challenge. Boy, was I wrong, because Notre Dame have only gone out and won both of their first two playoff games to set them up with the game from Penn State last night. And before we talk about last night, I got to make this point now because I'm going to forget, and I don't like forgetting things because you guys pointed out in the DMs, and I don't like that. So, is this playoff the correct format? We asked this question before the new year, and my answer is this: absolutely not. And let me explain. Yes, it is still early in a 12-team cycle. This is the first year of it, and I said that a couple of weeks ago. But the difference is this, and it's a drastic difference. The incentive of being a top 4 seed, the luster that it had, is completely gone. All 4 of them. I don't know if it was because, and this is the other difference, this playoff should have been earlier if you're doing this format. I think that's the one thing we've learned. One, the first round games were, I can confidently say this, the first round was terrible. I almost cursed on stream on the show again. The first round was terrible. The second round was miraculous, other than the Ohio State game, because Ohio State blew it open in the first half. The games were phenomenal, but there's no incentive of having a bye because of how many weeks you have. The weeks in between can be good and bad. I think they put too much time in between. And it's because of the name, the New Year's Six, which is something that we have to look at, obviously. But because of the name and everything, that's never going to change. So the thing we've learned, and the thing we've learned so far, and I'm confident in this playoff should be 8 teams with the New Year's Six. That's the one thing I've learned. Because the first round is useless. The second round is miraculous. And if you want that again, the second round, what already would be a second round, you would have all 8 seeds, which I think all these 8 teams deserve to be in the playoff this year. The only team that got eliminated early that you would argue to be deserving of a playoff spot. I would have said Clemson, but that's kind of wrong. Clemson, Texas is the best game in the first round, and it was the best game. I mean, it got the most views on this channel, so it had to have been the best game of the playoffs so far, am I right? But Tennessee didn't look like they deserved the spot. SMU definitely didn't. And Indiana were the biggest frauds in this to begin with. So, I mean, there's your answer. You had the 8 best teams, the 8 most deserving teams. I would have said Arizona State might not be, but they kind of proved me wrong by playing a great game against Texas. But the best 4 remaining teams are not here in this round. I can confidently say that. Penn State was not one of the 4 best teams remaining. Notre Dame, you can make an argument for now, but I can't because they didn't play Carson Beck, so I can't really make that argument for them. So I'll say right now, you have 2.5 of the 4 best teams. Notre Dame, I'm giving them a half. Texas and Ohio State, I'm fine with this. And you'll see why in a bit. But the game last night, in the battle of what I thought, and I was going to say this on Tuesday, but I was too sick to make a video, was the battle of meh. You have 2 meh quarterbacks, 2 overhyped programs, in a game that could probably put you to sleep. The first half of Penn State Notre Dame was absolute crap. The second half was looking like it was going to be atrocious. But then the fourth quarter happened. And the fourth quarter of this game is absolutely miraculous. Jeremiah Love, what a player. He may have played terrible, but he got a touchdown when you needed him to. And he broke a tackle. He broke like 3 of them and scored. Riley Leonard kind of stepped up when you needed him to. And Drew Aller, and I've said this before, and I said this was going to happen eventually, didn't step up in the big moment. James Franklin didn't step up in the big moment. And here we are talking about Penn State again. Oh, what's that? Oh, Penn State did it again. They have 1 win in big games under James Franklin. 1. Well, thank you, chair over there, for pointing out that he has 1 win in big games. 1. Uno. Singular win. How do you have a job if you've won? Yes, his record for the most part is immaculate. When you're playing the bad teams in the Big Ten, let's list off some bad teams together. So Northwestern, sorry. So Northwestern, Rutgers, Nebraska up until like now. Now Michigan State, I guess. I'm not really good at this, aren't I? I don't watch the Big Ten at all, so that's probably why. But like, you get where I'm going with this. There's a lot of bad teams that James Franklin beats every year, and they get away with having this immaculate record and a great team. And I hyped them up too much this year. I really did, because I said they're going to make the semifinals and lose. They collapse in the big moment. Haven't we realized that all season? They collapsed against OSU. They were actually in it way more than they should be, but they kind of collapsed against Oregon. They kept Boise, a team that I think everyone and their mother expected to get destroyed, in that game for way too much. And then last night, what else needs to be said? This Penn State team is too good to lose in this game. If Abdul Carter, Singleton, multiple other weapons throughout the roster, and you couldn't beat a team that didn't have their starting quarterback for a little bit of this game? How is that possible? That's amazing work. I don't think any other program could do that if they tried, other than Ohio State, which just makes the Big Ten even more of a meme. How is this possible? I don't understand. Marcus Freeman, who I've been very critical of for doing nothing. Hold on one second. Well done, sir. I'm serious. All respect to him. Nah, I'm serious. I've given Marcus Freeman a lot of hate on this show. No, on my other show. And Marcus Freeman has proven me wrong. And I got to give him his flowers, because I said to multiple people, is Marcus Freeman going to have the caliber of an NFL head coach? Absolutely not. He's going to get destroyed by Georgia. How wrong could I be this week? How? I mean, it's proven that Marcus Freeman is a better college football head coach than everyone's expected, because he's taking a Notre Dame team that's the definition of meh to the national championship. Albeit, he played the collapsing Penn State and an injury-plagued Georgia. Well, they didn't have their starting quarterbacks. So that's kind of where they fit in that. So I won't make any excuses. Notre Dame have actually kind of proven they deserve to be here. Upset Central. They beat Indiana, who's mid. They beat Georgia. Good for them. And then they beat the ticking time bomb in Penn State. So the collapse happened as a lot of people probably expected, and Notre Dame made it to the national championship. Unbelievable. But they've kind of set the table for what we are going to see in a couple of hours, and that is Ohio State and Texas. What should you be watching out for in this game tonight that I will be calling with, of course, my boy Chase Creedy tonight, 7:30 Eastern on Give 'em 5 Media? What should we be watching out for tonight? It's going to be the receivers. Matthew Golden for Texas against Jeremiah Smith. Both of them incredible players. But what's even more absurd is, one, the youth of Jeremiah Smith, the explosiveness of Jeremiah Smith. But Matthew Golden, as good as he is, isn't a 1,000-yard receiver. And I thought that was really shocking. But Texas, coming out of the SEC, being one of the dark horses they're not really a dark horse to win the whole thing. But if you look at what they've done this season, they've gone out after that losing. They've lost. Didn't they lose twice to Georgia? Yeah, their only 2 losses have been to Georgia. Georgia's not here anymore. So Texas are now in a prime spot to go out and win the national championship. They really are, because they didn't have to match up with a big defensive front for the first couple of playoff games. Now they are. And Ohio State, I love the defense. The Ohio State defense have looked really rock solid. More rock solid than I thought they would be doing. because defensively, they've had a lot of players step up. Jack Sawyer, JT, the defensive tackle, Ty Hamilton, just to name a couple. Caleb Downs in the secondary. He's been miraculous. Where's the guy who kept getting penalties? Where is he? Igbenuson has been solid. The rest of the defense has been great. Sonny Styles, another guy I like to mention. Special teams, they've been really good. But offensively, when you have Emeka Abuka, Jeremiah Smith, and Carnell Tate, there's not much you can do wrong with a receiving core like that. And don't forget that they have the running backs of Judkins and Travion Henderson. Will Howard has infinite weapons. Against a Texas team that is one of, I think, the best defenses in the country, this game is going to be a defensive struggle in the first half. I think it's going to look very similar to last night. A defensive struggle early, and then an offensive explosion in the second half, which, if you've looked at the film, Ohio State's games have not been like that in the playoffs so far. It's been a first half explosion, and then the second half just wastes the clock away. Because if you remember, they ran on the ball and threw the ball all over Tennessee. And then they threw the ball all over Oregon in the first half. Both games were over pretty much at the end of the midway point of the second quarter. That is not happening tonight. This game is going to be much more tight. This game is going to be a 3-point game at the end of the day. I think it's going to be a very similar score to last night. But who do I pick? Well, before who do we pick? Let's go over Texas real quick. A Texas team, like we mentioned, has only lost to Georgia, but they have some really good pieces to help get them over the top. Quinn Ewers, who has been who was terrible in the SEC championship game, has really rebounded into a very solid player. We already know that. They have Jaden Blue and Wisner at running back. They've both been phenomenal. Of course, in the receiving game, they're led by the aforementioned Matthew Golden, and they have a good core of receivers over there. Tight ends, they're fine. Offensive line, it's been pretty okay. Defensively, all over this defensive line, you can mention any of them from any part of the defense, and Texas is pretty much the top of it all. And the way they've been able to run that team, and the way they've been able to shut down so many great programs this season, you have to give the flowers to Texas. Who do I think wins this game tonight? It's going to be tough. It's the toughest team Ohio State's played all season. You have to adjust that. It's the toughest team Ohio State have played all year. But we've said that. We said that about Oregon both times. And both times, Ohio State have risen to the occasion against Oregon. But they haven't faced a defensive front like Texas. I'm giving this game to Texas. I am. And it's going to be a lower scoring affair. But who do I trust more in the back end of a game? I'm going to say, I don't trust either Will Howard or Quinn Ewers, but the form Will Howard is in, I think this game is going to be coming down to the wire. I want to pick Texas. I really do. You know what? I'm not making a prediction. Screw that. You know who the teams are. I'm not making a prediction. I want to pick Texas, but Ohio State's just as good. So I'm going to leave it down to the comments for you guys to make a prediction tonight because this game's too close to call for me. And also, I don't want to be biased ahead of the game tonight. So, down in the comments, write who you guys think will win, and give me a projected player of the game, and we will shout you guys out in the on stream tonight. This video should be going out by like 4, so hopefully you guys will have a couple of hours to write some opinions and get this done. We go from one playoff, and we will preview the national championship because I believe we are doing the national championship on stream on Given 5 as well. We go to the NFL playoffs, but before we go to the NFL playoffs, we need to address a couple of things that happened at the end of the NFL season. The Chiefs not playing starters and kind of tanking against the Broncos for no reason. The Jets beating the Dolphins in what could be the last game of Aaron Rodgers. I'll give my opinion on that first. Well, let's do that right now. Aaron Rodgers, 500th career touchdown. He finally got it. He got it against the Dolphins in Week 18. Where do I think the Jets go from here? And my answer is, I don't know. That's a genuine answer. I don't know. There's multiple ways they can go. I think the first solution before Aaron Rodgers makes a decision is learn who the next head coach of the team is going to be. And from who they've looked around so far, I don't know if it's going to be Aaron Glenn. I don't know who it's going to be. I know who I don't want it to be. And I believe it will come down. I think the staff is going to be. I want Josh McCown to be offensive coordinator. I'm dead serious about that and sack Nathaniel Hackett. You're going to have to think about who wants to work with Hackett. I don't know how is Hackett fired? I don't even know. But if he's, I don't even know if Hackett got fired. I don't think he did. Did he? I don't know. I am not paying attention. Did the Jets fire Hackett? I mean, I know he's not the game day play caller. Todd Downing. Yeah, keep Todd Downing. Fine. Todd Downing. I think quarterback coach should be Josh McCown if you can get him. I don't think head coach should be Josh McCown. I think that's a mistake. Aaron Glenn's an intriguing option. Rex Ryan should not be considered for this. I know Woody Johnson likes going old school. Have you seen the hires he's had? I wish I could list them all, but I don't have time to submit the video and do all of that. But it's going to come down to the head coach selection, and Aaron Rodgers' decision is going to come down really to him and himself. And I think Aaron Rodgers should run it back one more year. They're going to have Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson. After that, will demand the contract. I think for the stability of the team, you need one more year. That way you can have, if you think about it, look at the team that they will have right now. Hassan Reddick's gone, but coming back will be Jermaine Johnson on the edge. You'll have Will McDonald, who stepped up a lot on the edge this year. He had a phenomenal season. You'll have him and Jermaine Johnson. You'll have Quinn Williams and company up the middle. Linebackers are some of the best in the game with Quincy Sherwood, who's had a phenomenal year, and CJ Mosley. I think a trio that can cause so many issues. In the secondary, they're going to lose DJ Reed, which really sucks because I love DJ Reed. But you'll have Sauce. Michael Carter will come back from his injury. And I think the Jets need a corner and a safety. I don't like the safeties on the team. I still have that soft spot for Jamal Adams, but we're not bringing back Jamal Adams. So, corner and safety need to be addressed. They have to get another lineman, obviously, because everyone keeps going to the infirmary at this rate. I love Brees. I love the running backs. I wish we kept Ty Johnson because he's going off for the Bills. And receiver is fine. If the Jets can find a way to get a coach that can help piece it all together, they are a playoff contender. I am not confident enough with how much BS has happened within the Jets this season, especially in the back end of the year, when they sacked Joe Douglas, which I feel horrible about because I loved him. They sacked Solid. That one made more sense. But the fact that Douglas, I feel like, has been whoever is going to be the next GM is going to be like a puppet to Woody Johnson. It makes the team look worse than it is because you get the extra pressure about Woody Johnson and his sons running the team. The Jets are like, okay, let me put it like this. Whenever Woody Johnson sells the team, they're going to turn into Washington, where they're going to have this amazing season, and that's when they're going to make the playoffs. Is the year after Woody Johnson leaves, whenever that is. And I don't think that'll ever happen. So I'm embracing not making the playoffs for a long time, but oh man, the team is too good enough to be this bad. They're gonna have a top 10 pick. I don't know what you do with it. Because they have Jermaine Johnson coming back. They'll have Will McDonald coming back. If you can get another defensive tackle, if they can go offensive line again, corner or safety. I mean, Travis Hunter is going to go top early on. I could maybe see the Jets trade back a little bit, get more picks. I love draft picks, so that's why I say they would do that. But they have options. I just don't know how confident I should be in the Jets to actually nail this. But I think I want Rodgers to come back for another year as a fan of the team because he deserves a run where everyone's fully healthy, and they haven't had that. So it's a little frustrating, but it's just a weird thought to have right now. Also, speaking of breaking news, Carson Beck just committed to Miami, so he's going to go to school with his girlfriend. So he leaves Georgia, he goes to Miami. Fair enough, my friend. Fair enough, because they're losing Cam Ward. Just let me report this real quick. And while I'm doing this, Um, um, yeah, Carson Beck commits to Miami. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, Carson Beck committed to Miami earlier. Um, you do you, son. He'll replace Cam Ward. So, what else is going on? We have the NFL playoffs. Let's give our predictions for this weekend's games. I'll predict my Super Bowl champion right now. We'll start in the AFC. We have the Texans and the Chargers, man. Listen, we're back to picking games and doing terrible game picks. Now, the Texans are weird. All right. They have all the pieces, but CJ Stroud, despite having a sophomore slump, has led his team to the playoffs. They're taking on a Chargers team with nothing to lose. Give me the Chargers are an upset over the Texans. Um, they don't like winning playoff games. I'll tell you that for free. But with Harbaugh as their new head coach, I think they got this new luster to them. And to prove everybody wrong, give me the Chargers. They're going to face off probably against the Chiefs because the Ravens and the Bills will beat the Steelers and the Broncos. So my four out of the AFC will be the Chiefs and the Chargers, and the Bills and the Ravens. I think those two games miraculous. If you continue down the playoff line, to continue the predictions, Chiefs against the Chargers. A really weird game. I think the Chiefs will be very vulnerable. I'm picking them anyway, um, because that's what I've just done all season long. Just pick the Chiefs. I didn't expect them to be the one seed. What were my real quick? I know I've written down my NFL season predictions from this season because I didn't do good on them at all. I did have the Chiefs as the number one seed, and actually the Ravens and the Texans in the correct spots. So shout out me. I actually three of the four teams I actually predicted to make the playoffs out of the AFC correctly because I picked the Jets, the Bengals, and the Dolphins to make it. Great picks by me. But yeah, I think it's gonna be the Chiefs in one out of one side. The Buffalo Bills are a weird bunch, and who would I rather see face the Chiefs, and who I think will beat the Chiefs, and who will probably play the Chiefs are two different answers. I want the Bills to face the Chiefs. Another rematch between Allen and Mahomes. Josh Allen, that Bills team, despite having a receiver that I wouldn't have counted as competent before the season started, have put on a show, and they deserve their flowers. They've been great in the running game. They've been great in the passing game. Defensively, they've been really rock solid despite all the injuries they've had. But Baltimore would give KC a better game than Buffalo. I think they would because Buffalo's defense feels like they have that like spurts of inconsistency, and I think that Patrick Mahomes and company can take advantage of that. Um, who do I think will be coming out of the AFC in the Super Bowl? Oh, this is so tough because Buffalo and Baltimore. Baltimore can't defend anyone though. Because of the luster they have, I think the Buffalo Bills make the Super Bowl. I really do think that. I think, well, one, I don't think it's Kansas City. They haven't proven anything. Um, I'm interested to see, though, really. I think the first real test is how is Bo Nix in a playoff game? I mean, we've seen him play in the college football playoff. How is he going to do in the NFL playoffs? He's proven me wrong all year, Bo Nix. And he's helped put on a show with the Broncos. I mean, they could have traded multiple pieces, but no. The Broncos stay put with Bo Nix, and they don't sell, and they have a great season. They deserve to make the playoffs over a team like the Dolphins, and I don't think over Cincinnati. But the Chiefs having to go out there and play Buffalo, I think Buffalo are more disciplined. They do everything right. I think Buffalo will be the team out of the AFC in the playoffs this year. They'll beat Kansas City and they'll beat the Ravens. So I think the AFC team in the Super Bowl is Buffalo. They're too good, and they're a team of destiny, it feels like. Out in the NFC, biggest upset I have right now is the Commanders beating the Bucks. Jaden Daniels loves playing in big matches. It's felt like all year. So I'm gonna say Commanders beat the Bucks. I still don't know about the Packers and the Eagles because I don't know if Jalen Hurts is playing or not. It looks like he's gonna play. I'm gonna give it to the Eagles. So I think it'll be the Eagles. And I think they take on the Minnesota Vikings. I think there'll be two upsets in the NFC playoffs. Give me the Commanders. to beat the Bucks and give me the Vikings to beat the Rams. I know Sam Darnold in week 18 looked like crap, but the Rams have proven to me nothing because the NFC West was a team of collapsers. It was a team of collapses. I think the Rams, who lose their home field advantage, unfortunately, to the LA wildfires, and we're praying for everyone who've been affected by those wildfires. But LA lose their home field advantage and will lose this game to the Vikings. I think the Vikings will then go out and play the Eagles, and this is where it gets really interesting. I have the Lions beating the Commanders, and we'll have the Vikings lose to the Philadelphia Eagles. So it'll be 1-2 in both conferences because that's where the best teams are. But oddly enough, I think the Detroit Lions, despite all the injuries, this is a season, all right, and this is why I'm picking this matchup, where teams have to overcome absurd adversity to make it to the game. That's what the story will be from this season. The Detroit Lions will be going to the Super Bowl, and it's a very weird thought to have because they've had so many injuries. That's what really could hurt them in the end. It's going to be, I think, the battle of injuries with Jalen Hurts, who we don't know how healthy he's going to be, going up against this Detroit Lions defense without Aiden Hutchinson, without all these core pieces. It's going to be a showdown. I want to switch my pick to the Ravens. But the issue with the Ravens, right, yeah, the Ravens get penalized too much. Screw it, I'm changing my pick. Sorry, Josh Allen. Give me the Ravens and the Lions in the Super Bowl. Two teams. Listen, I want the winner of Ravens-Bills to make the Super Bowl. I think that'll be perfect. Teams overcoming adversity versus another team that has to overcome adversity. And no matter who you put there, I don't give a crap. The Lions are winning the Super Bowl. It's too predictable. They need a team of destiny to win this thing. If you want to do that, unless the refs want to give Mahomes the Super Bowl, which is honestly very possible, the Baltimore Ravens and the Lions, or the Bills and the Lions, are the three teams that should be considered for this. In all honesty, it shouldn't be the Philadelphia Eagles because they're going to collapse eventually, which might get Nick Sirianni canned, which he shouldn't be. The Lions, who are going to lose both coordinators at the end of the year, there's like a very good chance that happens. But honestly, who knows at this point? All of this together brings forth a path to a Super Bowl where the Lions can exploit everybody because of the creativity of Ben Johnson, the aggressiveness of the defense of Aaron Glenn, and the leadership of Dan Campbell. All of that combined brings forth a team that deserves to be in a Super Bowl, the Detroit Lions. And Jared Goff, who in the last time he played in a Super Bowl collapsed, if you remember, with the Los Angeles Rams. And last year, whatever Super Bowl it was, Super Bowl, what was it? LXII? In Super Bowl 58. Were the Lions in the Super Bowl last year? I'm an idiot. Yeah, because the Chiefs won, obviously. And that, because that was the year they beat the Niners, and then this year, no, last year they went out and beat what's their face? Because last year was the Niners, yeah, because last year was the Niners and they collapsed in the end, because the Niners beat the Lions. And this year I think it'll be if we're going with destiny and the team to like piss off everyone, it's gonna be the Bills. It's gonna be Lions Bills and the Lions win the Super Bowl. This is the moment where the Ravens realize that they're gonna collapse again because it's too predictable for Lamar to have a chance to take advantage and fail. They lose to the Bills. Whoever wins that game is going to the Super Bowl. If they gets to that game, obviously. And the Ravens and the Bills will square off. Winner goes to the Super Bowl because they'll beat the Chiefs. And it will be the Lions beat whoever wins that game. So the Detroit Lions are my predicted Super Bowl champions. Let's talk about the other football because that's mainly what this show is. And we'll talk about the Premier League because that's the league we talk about. Let's review what's happened over the last couple of weeks and particularly. Oh, and we also have to talk about the FA Cup today. I forgot about the FA Cup. We're not going to sing the song, obviously, even though we like singing songs on this show. We will later on. But let's talk about the big FA Cup ties after we talk about what's going on in the Prem. So back over this week, recent Prem results. Nottingham Forest have caused so many problems. They're amazing, and I don't understand why. You can't tell me. I can't tell you. Chris Wood, built different. Callum Hudson-Odoi is immaculate. There's a good chance Chris Wood probably gets bought by Chelsea next year because it's Chelsea and they want to buy everyone. But the Chelsea rejects have gone out and put on a clinic. And honestly, I'm all for this. Nottingham Forest, who just beat Wolves on Monday, are in third place in the Premier League after 20 matches. 20 matches in. They've won more games than last season. They have only scored, and this is where it gets nuts. They are 13th in goals for. 13th. 13th. They've only scored 29 goals this season. The teams above them have scored 39 and 47. But what's the difference? They are third in the league in goals conceded. Correction, tied for second in goals conceded now with Liverpool. Because they're at 19 each. The only team that's conceded less is Arsenal, and they've only conceded 18. So it's a 1-goal difference. But Nottingham Forest stats prove that they should be right there. And they've won 5 in a row. They've been in form and a half, chat. The last time they lost was December 4th, and they played Man City and got battered 3-0. And before the streak where they lost 3 of 4, including games to Newcastle, Arsenal, and the aforementioned Man City game, they respond to that by beating Manchester United, and I believe they came from behind to do that. Not really. It was 1-1, and they made it 3-1, so fair play. But after that, they beat Villa, they beat Brentford, but anyone can do that. But the difference was, it was at the Community Stadium. I believe that's the only loss that Brentford have had at home this year was the Nottingham Forest. That's absurd. They continue this run of form by beating Tottenham, 10-man Tottenham. They beat Everton and they beat Wolves. And now they get to play Luton in the Cup. They probably beat Luton 7-0 or something ridiculous. Because then on Tuesday, they play Liverpool. And if you forget, because honestly, I forgot about this, Nottingham Forest beat Liverpool already. So Liverpool, a team that have gotten lost in the Nottingham Forest has the opportunity to do the dumbest thing possible and go to second in the Prem after beating Liverpool and only be 3 points behind Liverpool. This is amazing. If anyone in my freaking chat says they could have seen this coming, then you're a magician or something. Because no one could have saw this coming. It's Nottingham Forest. No one expected them to do anything. I projected them to be like 15th, and they're in third, on the cusp of going to second. This is amazing. Does it make sense? No. Can I tell you why it makes sense? No. There it is. That's why I say this. Nottingham Forest are the most confusing team I've ever seen. There have been teams that have been so confusing, I could not break them down. And this is another one of those examples. Nottingham Forest. Welcome to the Premier League. Welcome to the show. Nottingham Forest. Teams have gotten consistently torn up in the Nottingham Forest. Chris Wood has been chopping down the entire defenses of so many teams this season. He's 12 goals this year, by the way. Talk about putting on a clinic. Other results that we should have cared about from the last couple of weeks, other than Nottingham Forest being Tottenham on Boxing Day, Everton. What a weird team Everton is. Because let's talk about Everton, because they deserve to be talked about now. If you've been living under a rock, you know Everton sacked Sean Dyche yesterday. Before the match. Right before the match. 3 hours before the match, they sacked this man. Really, after draws against Arsenal, Chelsea, and Manchester City. And before that, Yeah, they got battered 4-0 by Manchester United. They drew Brentford. They drew West Ham, respectable. They beat Wolves. That's cool. They drew Fulham, which is way more difficult than we thought. They beat Ipswich. They don't lose. They just refuse to lose. The issue is that they don't score, and it pisses off the board. They have scored the second least goals this season. They've only scored 15 goals in 19 matches. That's impressive. Like Southampton, I knew was terrible, but this is considerably worse. Like Southampton, they've conceded 44 goals. That's tied for worst. And that explains why they're bad. Leicester, the same way. Everton, who are 1 point from the drop, have conceded half the goals and have scored right around the same as Southampton and are in 16th, but they draw everybody. It's immaculate. They have 8 draws. That's third most in the league, I believe. It's tied for, it's fourth, behind Crystal Palace, Fulham, and Brighton, because Brighton draws everyone, apparently. They're the weirdest team. They're another one of those weird teams that no one knows what they're going to do next. Because Everton can, lose to Southampton, which remarkable. Lose to Man United, but then draw Arsenal, Chelsea, and Everton in consecutive games. That's impressive. Yeah, they lost to Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth. They sacked the manager. They played the most boring game yesterday against Peterborough, which they deserve to lose. And now they don't have a coach. Works for me, man. Freaking Everton, man. Other teams that have been terrible. Arsenal. What else needs to be said about them other than they need a striker? They've drawn 7 games, which is the second most in the top half of the table, only behind third, behind Fulham and Brighton. They have more draws than Fulham have wins. Well, they have the same amount now because Fulham won recently. They have more draws than Brighton have wins. I'll tell you that for free. And Arsenal right now are 6 points behind Liverpool with a game at hand because they need Nottingham Forest to beat Liverpool. Make it happen, please. Upcoming Premier League matches that you should care about. Nottingham Forest and Liverpool is one of them for sure. Arsenal played Tottenham on Wednesday, which, why is this game on a Wednesday? No one can tell me. And Arsenal, we don't even know who they're going to put on the field at this rate. So that's a very weird one. Tottenham have been bad. I'm surprised that Ange's seat isn't hot because Tottenham have been. Where are Tottenham? Tottenham are 12th. They're barely ahead of Manchester United, another team that have been in shambles this year. Both Tottenham and Manchester United. Quick teams that deserve their flowers before we talk about the cup. Shout out to Bournemouth. They're in 7th. They're in a Conference League spot. Unfortunately for Bournemouth, this league can get really, really weird because the Carabao Cup exists, and Newcastle, who have been flying recently, shout out Newcastle, they've won 5 in a row. They deserve their flowers. The only team that can throw this a monkey wrench in the whole league right now is Tottenham. Tottenham beat Arsenal. No, Tottenham didn't beat Arsenal. Tottenham beat Liverpool last week. They beat Liverpool 1-0 on Wednesday. Arsenal decide to not score again. They lost to Newcastle at home. So Arsenal are not winning the EFL Cup. I can tell you that for free. The hope is that Liverpool beats Tottenham. If you're Bournemouth and Arsenal, Liverpool beats Tottenham, and then Liverpool wins the cup. Because then that keeps the extra spot in the Conference League for Bournemouth. What would be Bournemouth right now. Because Bournemouth, who are unbeaten in their last 5, are in 7th, but that 7th place spot, I believe, gets taken away if a team from outside the top 7 wins the Carabao Cup. And right now, there is one team outside the top 7, and it's Tottenham, obviously. Who else would it be? Newcastle? Come on now. If you've paid any attention this season, you know who that other team is. It's Tottenham. It's Tottenham. So Tottenham have a chance to do the funniest thing ever and win a cup when they do. I mean, because they don't win trophies. Newcastle also have the chance to do the funniest thing ever because they haven't won a trophy in 68 years, chat. I want them to win it. I honestly want them to win it at this point. If we don't win it, I want them to win it. Because it's a team that hasn't won a cup in a long time, and they kind of deserve it now. Because they've been great, and they are like on the cusp of doing it and going back to European football. What cup games should you be caring about this week? Arsenal plays Manchester United on Sunday, which weird game to talk about. Arsenal faces Man United in the battle of disappointments. Shout out. Let's look up the whole list of matches because there's a weird one that we have to address, and it's with Tottenham. Conveniently, it's with Tottenham. Where's Tottenham on here? There's so many games. You have to scroll down to like the bottom of the list. Games to care about. Shout out to Dagenham and shout out some clubs real quick. Shout out Dagenham and Redbridge from the 5th tier. Bromley's here. They're playing Newcastle. They're gonna lose like 7-0. Tamworth, there they are from the National League. They are hosting Tottenham. Not salty about this at all. Man City are playing Salford. Nottingham plays Luton in a battle of a game that could be really, really interesting. Chelsea's playing Morecambe. Plymouth are playing Brentford. I feel terrible for Plymouth. And Liverpool gets to play a walkover against Accrington Stanley. Villa plays West Ham. That game is today. So hopefully you guys can see how that game turned out. But if you want to talk about the most intriguing game for the 11th and 12th, it's Arsenal Man United. There's not another game that's close. If you want a game that could be an upset, there's not a lot. Well, no, but one more game just to mention it, because it's a little bit of an interesting battle between two former Premier League clubs. That's Sunderland, who led by Joe Bellingham, have been great this season. Sunderland have been on a tear. They're one of the top teams in the EFL Championship. They're facing against a team that have also been in the Prem pretty recently. That's Stoke, two teams that love to go at it. Reading, I think, can upset Burnley. They're at Reading, so that should be an interesting one. That's like the only main upset I can think of. There's not a lot of good upset opportunities. West Brom over Bournemouth would be the only other one I could think of, but there's like nothing else. Also, shout my boys, Queen's Park Rangers is one of the first Premier League clubs I've ever watched in my life. They are out of the championship. They're going to Leicester. Give me Queen's Park Rangers over Leicester. FA Cup. Make sure you check it out. All the games, I believe, are on ESPN+. But also make sure you guys check out the college football playoff game tonight here on Given 5 Media and all the other shows. And make sure to check us out on socials at Gem5 Media. Handle in the description. That's today's show. I hope you guys enjoyed it and know it's a little bit of a longer one. If you like what you see, hit the like button down below and subscribe. For now, I'm Robbie Basil saying so long. See you guys tonight on stream. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Goodbye, everyone.